Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Missions Monday. My name is Pastor Matt Gehret. Today, I am joined by senior at Maryland Bible College and Seminary and
Woo!
returning missionary,
Come on.
Jonathan Mikkonen, who just got back from many places in South America
Yes.
over the past 5 or so months for a practicum at Maryland
Right.
Bible College and Seminary. So we're going to talk to Jonathan today. I'm going to interview him, and we're going to hear about his experience. As we listen to his experience, I am going to interject my own random tidbits of information from my time as a Maryland Bible College and Seminary student on practicum in Malawi back in 2017. So let's just get right into it, Jonathan. Let's start with the basics. Go ahead and say hi to our audience.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. It's cold in here, for sure, but we get through it. We're inside. So.
Okay, now can you say all of that in Spanish?
Hola, buenas tardes.
Oh.
Te ama, yo ama, Jesús te ama y es muy fantástico por hablar misión aquí.
Amen.
It's the best
the
I
mission
can
here.
do
I
right
love
now.
it. Okay, so let's just jump right in. The reason why I asked Jonathan to say that in Spanish is because he had to learn Spanish on the fly. Hey, Pastor Manny and Molly say you did a good job. Way to go. Is because he had to learn Spanish on the fly where he went.
Yes.
So, Jonathan, let's start with the basics. Where did you go for your practicum?
So I went to Medellin, Colombia, and my practicum was there in a very heart of the city in Medellin. And
who were you under?
I was with Pastor Brent Hillinga, and I was a team member for the. So there's a Pastor Brent, there's a Lucy, and I was a team member there. There's been a couple other people who've been there for, like Andrew Silva for a month, Steve Diamond for a week or two, but I was kind of the first one who was for a 3-month period and just helping out.
Awesome. That's great. So I already mentioned that it was for a practicum for Maryland Bible College and Seminary. Maybe you could tell our audience a little bit about what that means, why you would go there for a practicum, and what kind of expectations you had going into it.
Wow, good questions. So why I went was actually I wanted to have a experience of a mission field.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to have a real experience of a fresh church plant. I wanted to be under somebody who has done it, who is actively doing it, and have a experience and insight to lead and guide and ask stupid questions that I have about missions and ministry. And how did I end up there? Well, that's a longer story.
We got time. Let's hear it.
Let's do it. Okay. So first and foremost, I never had a missions in my heart when I came to Bible college. But on the first year, I sat down in an intro to missions, and Pastor Dennis White was teaching it. I would keep hearing stories in the mission field, and I keep reading. We had to read a book, Bruchko,
yeah.
And I was reading it like, well, this is not definitely for me. to go into the jungle and sharing the gospel, but maybe I could join a team. Maybe I could get my feet wet a little bit, and so I had the idea of 3-month practicum, marinating for a couple of years, and then God gave me a thumbs up. Is like, okay, now is a good time. Like, where do you want to go? And I was like, I don't know, where do you want me to go? Like, well, just choose.
And you're back.
We're back.
You had to make a choice, you were saying.
Yes. So I had to make a choice, which was like God kind of gave me from verse from Exodus, like, my presence shall go with you, and I'll give you rest. I'm like, okay.
Nice.
So I went to a fresh field that I knew Pastor Brent beforehand. We had talked about it. He told me opportunities about it, and it was kind of I felt God was with me on the decision, so I went, and I don't regret it. It was an experience that I'll never forget.
Nice. I'm just going to go ahead and read a couple of those verses. It's from Exodus 33, and maybe I'll just relate it a little bit to your thought process and how you got there based on what you shared already. Exodus 33:12, and Moses said unto the Lord, see, you say unto me, bring up this people, and you have not let me know whom you will send with me. Yet you have said, I know you by name, and you have also found grace in my sight. I can imagine, like, in the first steps of this process, you're like, okay, where am I going? Why would I go there? Who's going to be there? Like, is anyone going with me? Like, it's a practicum. You're a student. It's kind of your first time venturing out on your own. Thank God for Pastor Brent and Lucy and their hospitality and their leadership. Verse 13, now therefore I pray you, if I have found grace in your sight, show me now your way, that I may know you, that I may find grace in your sight, and consider that this nation is your people. And I like what you said, how you thought about multiple different places, but there was no peace when you were praying about it, or maybe seeking counsel about it. And then you get that peace, and then this is the verse that brings all of us peace. Verse 14, and the Lord said, my presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. And Moses responds resoundingly, and he said unto him, if your presence go not with me, do not carry us up there. And he reiterates again, like, Moses, you found grace in my sight. My presence goes before you. Just go.
Wow, that's so
just
good.
Go. And you did.
Yeah.
You went. So okay, so tell us, you went, you hopped on this plane, maybe multiple planes, maybe long connections, who knows?
Yes.
Airports are crazy, but you're landing, you're on the descent. You're about to enter this country where you don't know the language, you don't know the people, you know Pastor Brent a little bit. Yes. What are the thoughts going on in your mind as you're arriving?
Oh my goodness. The first thought is, am I really doing it? Am I really doing this? Yeah. I'm in the customs in a foreign country, and they are asking why I'm going there. I'm I don't even know. I just heard from God that I'm going. But like, at the same time, there was excitement. And like, I knew God was speaking to my heart as I was going. I got this like built up excitement. I was like I had an expectation that God, I don't know what God is going to do, how God is going to minister to me or to people through me, but I knew he was going to do something. And I was like, it was like, let's take the whole country. Like, it was that kind of like excitement.
The excitement.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. All right. So you get there, you have this mindset, this attitude, you're excited about it. God is with you. God's presence goes before you. What's the first big hurdle that you face when you're there? What seemingly brings all of that crashing down for a moment? What is it? Just real talk, real life on the mission field. What are you confronted with immediately that might thwart that attitude?
First thing is communication.
Oh, yes.
I realized very quickly how much in need I am to learn Spanish. It's you start to use a Google Translate or something, like, because the people just don't speak English. In Colombia, in Medellin, there's actually surprisingly many who speaks, and we have an English-speaking church there, so that helped a lot. Yeah. But just getting day-to-day basics, like going to a cab, driving somewhere, taxi, going to grocery store, and they are asking you something, and you're like, I don't have idea what you just said. Like, you could have just added an extra $100 there. I would just say yes.
Uh-huh.
So it's like I was faced with a language barrier, and of course that was also very big. I would say discouragement for a season,
Sure.
because it was in my heart to go on the street and share the gospel,
Hmm.
and then you realize that you need either know the language or you need to have a translator with you,
Yeah.
and like it can be discouraging to realize like you cannot do it in a way that you're used to do it,
Right.
and then the second part of it was what kind of threw me off is like, I mean, I'm from Finland myself, and I lived here, so I'm fairly Americanized Finn
Okay.
in certain sense.
Yeah.
But then I went there, and it was whole different culture,
Hmm.
a whole different just a social etiquette,
Yes.
and that threw me off a lot.
Yeah.
It was attacking different areas of
Hmm.
the flesh and different areas, and like it's just like
Yeah.
what is going on?
I can imagine. Whenever I went to Malawi, I didn't have the language barrier issue. I was very fortunate. Malawi is in uh, southern Central Africa, and they speak English. They learn their native language, Chichewa, and then they learn English alongside of it, or many of them do learn English alongside of it. So I didn't have that
Mm.
particular barrier. But what I'd like to know is how did that realization when it hits you? Did you get to talk to Pastor Brent about that? Did he have any guidance for you? Now, Pastor Brent and Lucy have been there for a couple years.
Yes.
So what kind of advice did they have for you? How did they lead you through that? Just the initial maybe shock
Mm.
of not knowing how you would communicate,
Mm.
not knowing how the grocery store would work, not
Right.
knowing how you get from point A to point B sometimes. Was it helpful to be around him?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit
It
about
was
that.
helpful to be around. So first month I was very close. I was living with them. Wherever Pastor Brent went, I went with him.
Nice.
I was on the back of the motorcycle on the crazy traffic, reciting Psalm 23, and like that was my first month. Is like,
Yeah.
but like I learned by observing how he handled things, how he talked to people,
Hmm.
and like just being with him, talking with Pastor Brent was helpful.
Yes.
And I mean, knowing he understood, he's also planted a church in Costa Rica, so
Mhm.
he knows really well Spanish, and
Hmm.
he knows a little bit more about the culture. And now that he's 2 years in, he knows a lot about the culture there, and what to do, what to not do, how to say things, and it's
Sure.
usually not what you say, but how you say it.
Definitely.
So that helped me a lot, kind of having that kind of introduction
Hmm.
through just observing and walking around.
So you didn't just land in a foreign country, not knowing the language, not having any resources available to you, but you had someone who had been there.
Yes.
You had someone who has been operating there for a while. The church has already been a couple years in the
Yes.
making. Does he have English speakers coming to the church as well?
Yes.
Expats, different
Mhm.
people like that coming to the church. The point is he didn't go into unknown territory all by
Yes.
himself, which people do have that calling, and it can be amazing, and it
Mm.
can really set the stage for more missionaries to come in. But as a student going to learn what missions is all about, like, would you say this was a beneficial way
That was
enter?
exactly what doctor ordered, so to say. It was exactly what I needed,
Yeah.
because next 2 months afterwards I was living all by myself and figuring it out from there.
Yeah.
But I had that first month living with them and getting used to the getting planted in that country.
Great. So now that you're there and you're under Pastor Brent, you are maybe attached to the hip a little bit, going where he goes, doing what he does out on evangelism when he's out on evangelism.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit about your schedule, and
Mhm.
tell us a little bit about ways that you served Pastor Brent, the team, the church in general.
So basically, how we did it is, on the first night I said, like, whatever you need here, I'm here for it. And like, I have a certain clue what the missions, what the ministry, what the church planning is about, but I want to learn. I want to learn from you, observing, doing it with you. So like, I'm here. Whatever you need, I'll do. So I was um, I was on a leadership position for a worship team. I was kind of pastoring the musicians that needed just a like r- refreshed mindset for what is worship,
Hmm.
how we do it, like in a Greater Grace Church. Many of them come from Catholic background and
Mm-hmm.
Pentecostal, something else, and amazing musicians, and just a little direction and care. And that was one thing. Then I was teaching in a Bible college, well, co-teaching, assisting,
What class?
survey of doctrine. Um, it was based on Pastor Carl Silva's second volume
Mm-hmm.
of the Foundational Christian Truths.
Okay,
So
that's great.
so it's a very practical teaching,
Mm-hmm.
and we went through that book, and uh, I enjoyed that part very much. Also, then there was a moments Pastor Brent throws me like under the bus. Hey,
Uh-oh.
can you preach here? Can you do this? Like, and a lot of things that happened there was like, I had a practicum in InReach, and I learned certain skill sets, certain things, going after people, and I was doing that there too. So that was, I was things learned in a Bible college was put on a very practical.
Yeah. So, okay, as we were saying, being thrown under the bus may not be the best expression. I totally
Sure.
understand what you mean. The moment I arrived in Malawi, this is just funny. This is just how things went. Pastor Chris picked me up from the airport, middle of nowhere. Like,
Mm.
just this airport in Malawi was in the middle of nowhere, and he took me straight to his daughter's 9th birthday party, where they were doing a Minions themed birthday party.
Wow.
And so that was my first introduction to Malawi, straight from the airport to the team house. And then from there, they had radio that night, and they threw me on the air for radio.
Wow.
I was still just trying to get my bearings straight, figure out where I'd be sleeping that night. And I just remember that being fun. Like, oh, that's a good way to just kind of get thrown into everything. Whenever you say, Pastor Brent put you in a tough spot, or like maybe a pressure situation, would you agree with me, or would you say it maybe differently, that that this helps you in ministry? This helps you learn how to operate, relying on what you've been taught, relying on the person who's putting you in that position, trusting
Mhm.
in them, and then also just relying on God and the Holy Spirit to work through you and in you for whatever ministry or whatever opportunity has been put in front of you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, especially the last one. Like it was a consistent learning process of understanding John 15:5b, like where Jesus is saying, "Without me, you can do nothing." And I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
I understood it in a very personal and practical way that that when it comes to ministry, when it comes to teaching and preaching, like in my own flesh, in my own knowledge, I have nothing to say about this book. I mean,
Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, we want to be empowered by the Holy Spirit to teach and to preach and to
right.
share the words of life with people, the words of eternal life.
Mm,
Let me think here for a second. So you taught survey of doctrine.
yes.
How often did you guys meet for classes?
Oh, so we had once it was midweek service kind of. So
Hmm.
Thursday nights we did that. Um,
Okay,
and
so then walk us through a weekly schedule of your time there. What did that consist of? Were there morning meetings? What was going on throughout the day? How did it look?
okay, so Mondays were kind of off days because that was a time of just studying. I was doing full-time Bible college online at the
Hmm.
same time, so off days were helpful. I
Yes.
got to catch up with the Bible college classes. Um, then Tuesdays we had a men's meeting in the morning on a cafe where there's a devotional, and then we talk about it. We share experiences man to man, and then Tuesday night there is a Zoom Bible study that he's doing. He's teaching. He was teaching Psalm 119, going
Wow.
verse by verse, and there was people from all over the world listening, from
Hmm.
China, from here and there, and different places. So uh, Wednesdays we usually Wednesdays was interesting. We usually took a van, invited people from church, usually young guys, whoever was available, and we drove other side of the mountain. There was a family that we had a Bible study in a little town called La Ceja, and then there was a church that is a very close relationship with the church that we have.
Hmm.
So in Llano Grande, so we went to visit there also and have a Bible study there, and that was usually Wednesday. Thursday we have a Bible college and
A midweek service.
midweek
Yeah.
service for everybody. Uh, Friday usually was for so we are renting a place from other church, so we had to uh, schedule our schedule based on how they have a
Hmm.
services and
Hmm.
things. So Fridays, uh, we would have at Pastor Brent's house music practice for the Sunday.
Nice.
So we would have guys and girls there and just have a meal and then practice and do it. And then Saturday we would have an outreach, uh, going to the city, going to different places. And Saturdays are very active usually for in Medellin, and they are like very much into sports. So like we would go to this sports park where there's lots of people on Saturday, and
Yeah.
we would put a cornhole there, and like we'd just go and evangelize and do that, and then prepare for the Sunday service. And then Sunday morning there's this event called Ciclovia where they block off a street for running.
Hmm.
So it's a full of people. So we do the same thing. We go with the cornhole there, and we stop people. We talk about Jesus, and people are interested. People are asking questions, and then we run to the service, which is 2:30 p.m. or 2 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And we do the service, and then usually we have afterwards rap session in a cafe or in a restaurant, and we do that. And on the between, when there is nothing seemingly going on, there's phone calls,
Sure.
there is a visitations.
Yeah.
So those times for me were like I was studying, but my phone was right there to wait for, like, okay, we're gonna go there. I'm like, okay, okay, can you, or like there's somebody who needs a phone call, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, this guy needs encouragement. Okay, I'm gonna do it.
Nice.
So it's a it was a flexible schedule,
Yeah.
but there was a structure.
Great.
And
Every leader's different in that
Yes.
area. Every schedule's different. When I went to Malawi, we had a morning prayer time every morning. Our off days were on Fridays.
Mm.
We had morning prayer. Then we listened to a message from Baltimore, and we had a small rap about it. Then we'd have about 2 hours of downtime each weekday from 9 a.m. to 11. And if it was Monday or Wednesday, we went to do evangelism in the post office, the main section of the long way where all the businesses were, where everyone was going back and forth. They were catching their mini buses to get to where they need to go. Lots of interesting stories on minibuses or surrounding minibuses in Malawi. I won't go into details there, but Pastor Chris maybe one day will tell you. Let's see, if it was Tuesday or Thursday, we would go to a different area. The long way was split up into areas that were numbered, like 9, 26, all different numbers. And we would go to a different area and evangelize on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then we would go on visitation. So we would pick the area based on where we have church members nearby, and we did Bible college only on the weekends. It was all day Saturday from 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. And then we would go get fries at this random hotel afterwards, because that was just the best thing after a long day of Bible college. Or sometimes the students would go play soccer outside, football. And then on Sundays, we would have Bible college right after church from 1 p.m. to about 5:30. So again, the schedule's different for everyone.
Yes.
It really depends on who you're under and where you're going. And it also depends on the culture. We could only do Bible college on the weekends in Malawi because most of our students, we had over 200 students that year in 2017, fit into this elementary school hall, just a bunch of plastic chairs and a whiteboard. It was great. Most of our students had to walk kilometers or miles to get to where they were going for Bible college. So we couldn't do it during the week. Once the sun goes down in Malawi, you never know what the electricity situation is going to be like. So you just hope that you have it, but we don't plan anything after dark in Malawi. Usually by 5:30 or 6 p.m., everything's shut down. You're back where you're supposed to be, or you're close by, so that you can get to where you need to be. We did outreach through sports too. One of the very first fun outreach, not fun, they're all fun. It's all an adventure. But one time we went to a Catholic school in a different area, and we put on an impromptu basketball camp for about eight 5 to 8 year olds, and we taught them beef. One of our congregants from 2017 would know what beef stands for: balance, eyes, elbow, follow through. Taught them how to shoot a basketball. And I remember we had, one of those little boys heard the gospel through one of our interpreters who was preaching in Chichewan to them, and he accepted Christ that day. You just never know what means God will use to bring the message of love and redemption to a child or to an individual. Maybe they're running around that square, and you stopping them is exactly what they needed. Who knows? So you didn't just go to Colombia. Tell us a little bit about your travels while you were down there, where you went, what you did, what that experience was like.
Okay, so on a cherry on the top for that 3-month practicum, as I was 3 months in there, God made a way through in a very miraculous ways for me to join in Chile and Argentina for Latin America Missions Conference. This was the first time for me, and we were just there. Pastor Schaller joined us. Pastor Justin joined us in Argentina, and like it was a rich experience of like meeting from different, like Peru, meeting people from Argentina, Chile, like all these where there's established churches and people just come together, and it was like we would have a convention here.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing. It's amazing to see. Like it's the same spirit. It's the same love that is in the body there, and it was so awesome to see.
Nice. And was there also a missions trip to Bolivia at the end of all of that?
Yes.
So who led that trip? Who all joined you? I'm sure you got a few surprise visitors along the way. I don't know if they were surprises or not, actually. I don't know. But you tell the story, Jonathan.
Okay.
I'm just going to listen.
So I stayed for another 3 weeks, actually, in Argentina, in a team house with Pastor Stan and Karen and Theo and Roxy, and Nick Wyman is there. Hey, that was amazing to catch up with him, and just I was seeing how things are going in Rosario, Argentina. It's an awesome church. There's a great youth ministry there going on, and then I flew with Pastor Stan and Karen, Katie, and Geronimo from Argentina. Actually, okay, Pastor Roger Robbins Jr. came down to Rosario a couple of days before Bolivia trip with a couple of my dorm mates. So there was a Victor and Gabriel from Poland, and then JB came there also, another senior from Hungary. And we've been three and a half years together in the Bible college, so that was fun. So we had a good time there, and just talking about expectations about like what can we expect like from God to do in Bolivia, and then we fly there, and there's already my brother and my sister-in-law are there in Bolivia. And so we had a team of 13 people, and
wow,
we just went by faith, hit the Santa Cruz Sierra, and just prayerfully we had short-term missions, pre-work for a future church plant, and that's what we were praying for. And that was actually an awesome experience to see how like open door once you realize it, like once you see and witness it yourself, it's amazing. Like people are open, and people hear about the grace message, and they want to hear more, and asking, where's your church, and like where can I hear about this more, and like you should like Bolivia needs this message, and like, okay, how many reasons do you need to like
sure.
So it was a very positive experience.
Nice. That reminds me of Romans 10. Let's see. This is a great little series of verses for missions in general. Romans 10:14. How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? How shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? So here goes Jonathan, a senior in Bible college. And there's more to it than that. You keep going. Those verses are great, all about missions. Here's Jonathan, a senior in Bible college, heading to the mission field, not maybe realizing it or thinking about it this way, but you're a preacher of the gospel when you get there. That's a really exciting thing, because it's not so much about how do I put it? It's not so much about what you can say, but it's about what God has put in you to say, relating to his love, relating to his character, relating to his death, relating to all the ways that he's already ministered to you. That pours out to people, that comes out to people. You get to a place like Bolivia, what do you notice? Romans 10:14 applies to people in Bolivia.
Yes.
You get to Argentina, what do you notice? Romans 10:14 applies to people in Argentina. Everyone, how can they know who they can believe in if they have not heard? And how will they hear if a student or a preacher or a single mom or an overworked parent or a young kid with an idea and a heart to go after God, how will they hear unless someone gets sent? So Jonathan went, and we're really excited about that here at Maryland Bible College. We love sending students to the mission field. In fact, this was one of how many practicums that you've done?
It was one of the 3 that I've done.
And then you're doing number 4 this semester.
Yes.
Okay, so we have 4 practicums for our students, and we try our best to encourage each and every one of our students, if they can, if they have the means available to them, if they want to make a decision by faith, to go on the foreign mission field, even if it's let's say not even foreign mission field, just to go on the mission field, even if it's to a neighboring state. Pennsylvania, we have works in York, we have different things popping up in and around Philly, over near Pittsburgh. You want to go, West Virginia just started, Morgantown with Pastor Andrew Gardner. And then we have all these works overseas, all these places that we can go. What would you say if I were to ask you, Jonathan, what's your favorite testimony or a testimony that you have from this entire trip? What's one thing you could share with us that is just, it's right there right now? What is it?
I'm glad to share this one because after Bolivia, I went back to Colombia for a couple weeks. We had a conference there, and I went for a couple of days. Pastor Pete Westera joined me. He was there as well, in a couple days, 3-4 days in Bolivia, and then a couple of days in Colombia, just to see the work and just to encourage. And so we had this youth night there at the Pastor Brent's house, and like he was loving what's going on in the youth there. Like the house was full of young people. Let's say there was 20 plus, and I was also a little surprised. I was like, really, like you try to get that happen in the States. That's a miracle sometimes. But like, there was this one guy, Alejandro, that he wasn't saved, but he came there because of his friend Kevin, and so he was really hanging out with around me and around Pastor Pete. So next day, they wanted to take us to get to see all the tourist places like Comuna 13, which used to be Pablo Escobar's area.
Whoa,
and now it's like this tourist spot where it's like highly populated area, but like there's all kinds of sounds and colors and life in the streets, and like we just go there, and every cab driver we go with and we evangelize, and this guy Alejandro has to translate everything. So we had a design for it.
Yes.
And so then Pastor Pete just encouraged this guy Alejandro for at some point, like, we have to make a decision, like based on the things we have heard, based on the truth. Whether you accept it, or whether you believe that Jesus Christ is true, whether you believe that he died for you, and whether you believe that it's free gift, and it's nothing that you can earn and deserve, and it's just by faith receiving Christ. Like he was like, but Pastor Peter was like, but you don't have to do it right away, but like just go at some point, just go into your room and like just pray to God to show Himself, and pray that like if you are really true, like just talk to me, and
Yeah.
He will do it. So he was just like, I I might do it. I'm not doing it tonight, but like I might do it someday.
Yes.
So a week later, about a week later, like I mean, I'm myself. I'm having one of the worst days of my life
Oh no.
in a field. It's like everything that offends me, and I'm just like and so much in my head.
Yes.
After the church service, we're sitting in a place Italian restaurant. Yeah, I have a pizza in front of me, and this guy Alejandro sits next to me, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna talk to anybody today. And,
Well, I think I know where this is going.
and
Okay.
so
let's
so
hear it.
then he's like, and then he asks like, just says like, this church is a little different, isn't it? Like, uh, people wants to be with each other and like care for each other, and just look at him and like, what do you think that is? And he's like, I don't know. I think it's God. I'm like, yeah. So we have this I start to ask a couple more questions. And what do you think about it? Or like how, like just walking through and telling my testimony. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna talk with him. He's locked in. He wants to have a conversation, and like, I don't remember everything that I said. I basically shared the gospel in a way that I understood it,
Mm-hmm.
and about the uh, finished work, and about the eternal security. And then there's like a 20-second silence, and he's just like, I think I've made my decision. Like, I want to receive Jesus. My jaw drops. I'm like, what? Really?
on your worst day.
Yes.
On your worst day.
Yeah, so it's like,
Wow.
it's like God does like just kind of proved something
Wow.
important things there. Is like, I mean,
Yes.
if you're available, you still can be used.
What? Yeah. What did? Oh man, what did you say to me before we did this episode? All God needs is a. What? What'd you say to me?
Warm body.
A warm body. All God needs is a warm body. Romans chapter 10, verse 14. How shall they hear without a preacher? All they need is someone who is willing to share the message. Jonathan was willing to share the message. You were having a terrible day. I'm sure the pizza helped a little bit. I'm hoping. Okay, the pizza helped a little bit. But we've all experienced this. We've all been annoyed, perturbed. Every little thing gets to us, right? No, we we don't want people to see our flesh, but we feel like that's all we're showing. And then all of a sudden God shows up and everything is different. And this guy Alejandro, his life has changed. He's translated out of the kingdom of darkness into the kingdom of light, or into the kingdom of his dear son. And this is all important. This is all like vital to the understanding of what missions is about. This is vital also to understanding what our school is about, and what we hope to do. The next verse, Romans chapter 10, verse 15. How shall they preach except they be sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace and bring glad tidings of good things. And I am so thankful to be part of a school that is being sent out by the church that covers us. Our church sends out missionaries all around the world. And I'm so thankful for that. My life would be totally different if I never got a chance to go to Malawi. I got to teach biblical psychology there. It was a challenge, but it was exciting. It's where I realized that I might have a gift in teaching, in terms of teaching the Bible. I have a degree in teaching, but teaching the Bible is kind of a whole different experience. That's the first place where Pastor Chris Arman, said to me, like, hey, you might have the heart of a pastor. And he encouraged me in that.
Wow.
And I don't know that I had given that a whole lot of thought leading up to that point. I just wanted to do something by faith with God, going to a different place. And I think our stories are like similar in that respect. You came from Finland. Missions was not even in your heart when
No.
you arrived. Did you guys hear that? Missions was not in his heart when he came to Bible college.
No.
But the first class you sit in, Intro to Missions, Pastor Dennis White, the novel Brushko, life-changing.
Yes.
What's something you want to say to our audience? What's something you want to say to Bible college students around the world who are thinking about missions? What's something you want to say to a teenager who doesn't really know what their purpose is in life that could relate to this?
Wow. In Proverbs, I think 19:21.
Oh yeah,
it might be, says, the
it's there.
heart of a man devises many plans, but it's the counsel of the Lord that prevails.
Wow.
And I kind of, that's a one thing. It's like I know that I have a preferences. I have certain things that it's in my heart, and my heart is capable of devising and thinking about. But then there's the counsel of God. There's the perfect calling, perfect plan that we don't understand. I don't understand why God would use me on a mission field, but I get little pieces, a little here and there, confirmations, little crumbs that I just get that little word here and there that is hidden in the heart. It's like I can, because of this, I can, like, it's not me but God.
Amen.
And like God can, it's God who is able to make
Do
us
exceedingly abundantly above,
yes,
or is it something
or
else?
to will and to do.
Works in us both to will and to do of his good pleasure.
Yes.
Philippians 2:13.
Boom.
Jonathan.
Boom. So it's like, it wasn't my will, but it became because I was seeking for God. That's why I wanted to come to Bible college. I wanted to get to know God and seek for God. And
Wow.
missions is a great way to get to know God, because you're in a mission field. I mean, a church like Baltimore, it's amazing to be here. It's amazing to be in a body like this. And then when you are there in an apartment, it's you and God. And that might be all that there is. That might be all that there is, but that's awesome. It's you and God. And like, God is speaking there. God is ministering to you.
Wow.
And then, like, even if you feel like some days, like, it's like this is the foolishness of God is finest. But like, God is still there. God is ministering to you, and God is talking to you, and it's like God is changing you. And one thing that I've learned doing these trips and going to missions is I've always closer to God.
Wow.
And if missions is a way for me, God's design for me to get to know Him, that's going to be the rest of my life.
Amen. We heard that last night in service. What's the work that they are sent out to do in the parable in Luke 19? Well, what's the business they're engaged in? And it's, Jesus says in verse 10, I have come to seek and to save the lost. If you are getting to know God, you are getting to know missions. They go together. It's synonymous. God is love. Love reaches out. Love goes all around the world. There is go in the gospel, as Jonathan is pointing to. You always have a mission to be part of whenever you are fellowshipping with God, whether it's one-on-one in the room in prayer time, in reading your word, in having a small group get together surrounding the word or some fellowship. I'm reminded of this verse, Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10, where it says, for we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus unto good works, which God has before ordained that we should walk in them. God very well may have a plan for you and your life, and missions may be a big or small part of it, but every single day you can be on a mission with God. Jonathan, after having experienced this opportunity, a practicum abroad, would you recommend this to other students who are entering their junior and senior years at MBCS or our affiliate schools around the world?
With my whole heart. With my whole heart. It's an experience that is unforgettable and kind of ties up together things that you've learned in the school and puts it on a practical where you can see how much you have grown and how much also you have to grow still in the knowledge and grace of Jesus Christ.
Yes.
But it's like it's an experience that is, even if God's calling is not for you to go to a foreign field, but to be exposed to it for a certain amount of time and with a practicum, with a safe environment, with under somebody, it's an amazing experience and opens up your just vision to pray,
your worldview,
to see that there is a people very different, but they have a hunger, they have a thirst, but they may not know it, but you know it, and you know how to draw it, and you know where to get it, you know how to go to the source.
Yes. Wow. 1 Thessalonians 5:24 says, "Faithful is he that calls you, who also will do it."
Yes.
If you are thinking about it, go for it. If you have a place in your heart, bring it to your pastor, bring it to your church leadership, bring it to your covering, and ask them to be praying about it for you. And then watch God put the pieces together to make it happen. Or watch him totally divert it and take you somewhere else and still realize that he is faithful who called you and that he will do it along with you. You've been created for it. All things are of him and to him and through him, so that all the glory can go to him. Romans chapter 11, verse 36.
Yeah.
Maybe. And we just encourage you guys today, from South America to South Central Africa to Baltimore, Maryland, to wherever you are listening from, that if you have missions in your heart, or if you are getting to know God, that you can go and you can know him greater or deeper or more closely, and he will be there for you, and he will send you out, and he will bring you back in. And full circle, Exodus chapter 33, verse 14, his presence will what, Jonathan?
Go with you.
His presence will go with you.
And there will be a rest.
And there will be rest. So that's it for us today. Thanks for joining us on this Missions Monday. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day to tune in. Be sure to tune in next time. A month from now, I know we got some really special guests coming through from the San Diego, California area. I won't pop their names out right now, but be on the lookout March 3rd, 2025 for our next guest. Thanks for joining us today. You guys have a great day.
A good day.
God bless you.